What if I told you the airplane, as we know it, almost never existed? The world we live in, where you can cross oceans in hours, was built on centuries of obsession, failure, and a few lucky breakthroughs. Today, flying feels normal, but not too long ago, people looked at the sky and thought, we'll never belong up there. Every time you board a plane, you're stepping into the result of humanity's oldest dream, and maybe its most dangerous one, because the story of the airplane isn't just about technology, it's about imagination, risk, and the relentless urge to go higher, faster, and further, no matter the cost. But how did we get from ancient sketches to machines that can circle the planet in a single flight? Let's start at the very beginning. Thousands of years before engines or airports, humans were already obsessed with the sky. In ancient China, people built massive kites, not for fun, but to test how wind could lift objects. Some stories even mention prisoners being used as early test pilots. It sounds dark, but it was our first real experiment with flight. Then came one of history's biggest dreamers, Leonardo da Vinci. In the 1400s, he filled notebooks with sketches of flying machines, flapping wings, gliders, even something that looked like a helicopter. None of them worked, but that wasn't the point. Da Vinci proved that flight wasn't just fantasy. It was an engineering problem waiting to be solved. For centuries, no one could crack it. People strapped on wings, leapt off towers, and usually discovered gravity worked a little too well. But every failure taught us something: a better shape, a lighter material, a new insight into how air moves. And then, one man finally brought science to the dream: Sir George Cayley, a name most people have never heard. But every pilot owes their life to him. He was the first to identify the four forces of flight: lift, drag, thrust, and weight. Without Cayley, there would be no Wright brothers, no Boeing, no Airbus. A few decades later, a German engineer named Otto Lilienthal took those ideas to the sky. He built gliders that actually worked and flew hundreds of times, studying every movement. Sadly, one crash cost him his life, but his experiments proved that human flight wasn't just possible, it was inevitable. And then came two brothers from Ohio who refused to give up. Orville and Wilbur Wright, bicycle mechanics with no formal training, decided to outthink the world's top scientists. On December 17, 1903, their fragile plane lifted off the sand for just 12 seconds. 12 seconds that changed everything. It wasn't graceful, it wasn't fast, but it worked. And once humanity broke the sky's barrier, there was no turning back. Within a decade, flight went from dream to weapon. World War I transformed fragile wooden biplanes into deadly machines. Pilots became legends, flying at insane speeds with nothing but fabric, wood, and courage keeping them alive. When the war ended, people saw airplanes differently. If they could fight wars, they could connect the world. Inventors began building bigger and stronger planes. But behind the scenes, a quiet battle was brewing. The Wright brothers, pioneers of flight, were caught in a brutal patent war, suing others over who owned the airplane. That legal fight actually slowed progress in the US, while Europe raced ahead with daring new designs. By the 1930s, airplanes had evolved fast. Wood gave way to metal. Biplanes became sleek monoplanes. And for the first time, ordinary people could buy a ticket and fly, not as an adventure, but as transportation. But the next leap would change everything again. In 1939, the world saw something unreal: a plane without propellers. The Heinkel He-178, the first jet-powered aircraft. It flew faster, higher, and smoother than anything before it, and every nation wanted one. After World War II, jet technology took to the skies commercially. In 1952, the de Havilland Comet became the first passenger jetliner. It was sleek, futuristic, and way ahead of its time, until disaster struck. A series of mysterious crashes grounded the fleet. The culprit? Metal fatigue, a hidden flaw no one had seen before. It was a tragedy, but also a turning point. Engineers redesigned everything, making air travel safer than ever. Then came the giant that changed the world, the Boeing 747. In 1969, it carried hundreds of passengers across continents with ease. It wasn't just an airplane. airplane. It was a symbol of freedom. For the first time, flying wasn't just for the rich, it was for everyone. Families could cross oceans, businesses could go global. The sky became humanity's highway. But while the world settled into routine air travel, engineers were already dreaming of the next frontier. The Cold War turned the skies into a battlefield of innovation. Stealth aircraft, like the F-117 Nighthawk, were built to vanish from radar. The SR-71 Blackbird flew so fast it could outrun missiles and still holds speed records today. Then came a plane that broke all the rules, the Concorde. In 1976, it flew from New York to London in just over 3 hours. Passengers could literally see the curve of the Earth from their seats. It was luxury, it was speed, it was the future, but it came with a price. Deafening sonic booms, insane fuel costs, and one tragic crash that ended its reign. By 2003, the Concorde retired, leaving behind a haunting question: would we ever go supersonic again? Today, that dream is being reborn. Modern engineers are chasing new frontiers, cleaner, quieter, and smarter ways to fly. Electric planes, hydrogen engines, designs that look more like spaceships than airplanes. Companies like Boom Supersonic are building jets that could fly faster than sound without the sonic boom. Meanwhile, others are racing towards sustainability, zero-emission flight, recyclable materials, even vertical takeoff aircraft for city travel. And in the background, private space companies are blurring the line between air and space. The same spirit that lifted the Wright brothers off the ground is now pushing us beyond the atmosphere. But maybe the biggest shift of all is autonomy. We already trust autopilot. But what happens when there's no pilot at all? AI-driven flight systems are learning fast, and one day we might step onto a plane with no one in the cockpit. And the wild part? Most passengers might not even notice. In just over a century, humanity went from kites and sketches to steel giants crossing the world in hours. The airplane didn't just change transportation, it changed civilization. It made the world smaller and yet more connected than ever. It reshaped war, business, culture, and family. But every breakthrough came with its own risks, accidents, setbacks, and hard lessons learned in the sky. Still, the dream never died, to defy gravity, to go higher, faster, further. Because that's what humans do. We chase the impossible until it isn't. So, next time you're sitting by a plane window, watching the clouds drift by, remember this: you're part of a story that started long before airports and jet engines. A story written by dreamers, inventors, and daredevils who refuse to believe in limits. And the best part? The airplane you flew on yesterday is already outdated, because the future of flight, electric, supersonic, maybe even spacebound, is being built right now. The sky was never the limit, it was just the beginning. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe for more.